Welcome to the Qualified Business Champions mini-series, where we're going to highlight a recent graduate on how they create more purpose, more profit, and productivity all around them. So welcome to the mini-series, Erica Watson. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Great. I loved having you there because you brought a different energy to the group than, just a different energy. So you're part of a longer series of probably about 10 people that we're going to do this with, and I really wanted you to be on this. And as we talk to you a little bit more through this maybe 30 minutes or a little over, I think people will find that out. So real fast, tell us about what industry you're in, how long you've been in it, and maybe a sense of production so people can get an understanding of what size business we're talking about.
Okay, great. So I'm in sales in the mortgage industry, and I've been doing it for about 5 years. Yeah, 5 years. I'm a part of a larger sales team. So it's myself and my sales manager and then another support person. Our production's about 25 million a year, and we help over 150 families.
Wow. So did you just say 3 team members?
Yes. So there's my sales manager, myself, and then a support person.
Okay. So there's a total of 3 of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys together in the mortgage industry did 25 or 150 going over that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You guys are doing that kind of production on a regular basis. Now, not everybody that is going to be watching this or hearing it actually has a point of reference when it comes to, like, is that a big deal? Is it not a big deal? Is that something that people would do? If I'm not mistaken, you guys ended up missing one of our sessions because you were being honored for the level of production you did by Guild Mortgage, right?
Yeah. Yes, we had the pleasure of visiting Nevis in the Caribbean, so that was awesome.
Nevis? Is that how you put it? Okay. Yeah. That's I get, you say Caribbean, and that's I think that's just anywhere like that's tropical and awesome.
Yes, exactly. That's how I feel about it.
So Guild sent you guys, how many, do you have any idea just kind of like what is the general sense for just the company Guild Mortgage itself? Like,
you mean about the company itself? Well,
yeah, as far as the size of the number of loan officers, that kind of thing.
Oh gosh, the crazy thing about it, Spencer, is I am such a focused person. You give me the goal, and I just want to figure out how to execute on that goal. And we're a national company. I couldn't tell you how many loan officers there were because I don't really pay attention to that part. I just want to focus in on our part.
Yeah.
But we do cover, in our region, we cover the East Coast. So I'm in the Southeast region, and we cover the East Coast. And I believe we had about 14 participants just from my region that were top producers. Myself, including my sales manager, we were part of the trip. And we were just there celebrating just success, loving on one another, and then sharing the tips and tricks of the trade.
Right. So I guess really all I was really looking for is I'm going to guess that Guild doesn't just send anybody.
No, it's the top 5 to 8%, just depending on the year when they change the requirements. But definitely the top 5%.
5%, top 5% in a company, by the way, that has a very large lion's share of market share when it comes to national numbers. Is that not right? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So I just want to make sure people understand that when you say 25 million or you say, 150 families, it's not like that just happened.
No, it doesn't, because the average loan officer closes, when you think about nationally, about 2 loans a month. And so that's 2 times 12 is 24. So there are a lot of people who say they're mortgage originators, but then you look at the activity or the results that they have. So when we're talking about helping 150 families in a year, at least, you can compare that to 24, which is the average nationally for an originator.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, I'm going to throw in the dynamic here because I think you have value in this conversation because of what you do in the industry. And I'm kind of moving into the next kind of series of questions about, before we jump too much into the business and the topic that you did at the Mastermind, telling us more about yourself. There's a lot of people that would like to get in business and do it with their spouse. And then there's some that are doing it with their spouse and it's working, and for some it's difficult. And
oh yeah,
I know that your husband Lamont, which we will have in this series probably soon, the two of you work together on a regular basis. So
yes.
So give us a sense a little bit about yourself. Tell us about family, things you're proud of, and just kind of give us a quick overview of that.
Okay, so real quickly, I do work with my spouse of soon to be 19 years. We're going to celebrate our anniversary in July 1st. I remembered this time. I'm bad with dates, bad, horrible with dates. But we've been together for 19 years come July, friends for 29 years, and we work together. And with Guild Mortgage Company, we've been together about 5 years, working together here. We worked together at previous companies as well. And we have 3 children at home, an 18-year-old who's going to Clemson University. Yay, go Tigers.
I know you guys are proud of that.
Yeah.
Are you both graduates from Clemson?
We both attended. I finished, and then Lamont finished up elsewhere, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Because I know he's a big Clemson fan as well. So I'm guessing you guys are excited about that. So an 18-year-old, and then you got 2 other children as well.
Yeah. 14 and 7. Yes, our little princesses. So we've got them at home, and we do balance working together, being married, and raising a family. And those are all pretty big buckets to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm aware of how that works, and that's why I wanted to bring it up because, and I didn't come to my mind till just now. But you telling me you have 3 daughters?
3 girls and a female dog. Yes.
Well, Lamont and I have that in common. Yes. Literally, I have 3 daughters and a female dog. So, so I can imagine then that would mean you and Amy, my wife, would actually have a lot of things in common as well.
I know, yeah. And we sat by each other a couple times during the sessions for the Qualified Mastermind. Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's awesome. I know that can be a little bit of a challenge. So let me bring it back around to the business end of this. Tell us a little bit about previous careers, because I know you said you worked with Lamont before. Have you always been in the loan industry, or where have you?
No. So I've been a preschool teacher, but I was educated as an engineer, and I worked in manufacturing for quite some time there. And so that goes to speak to when you talk about systems later on, that is just what I love. I love systems.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a time, and then we started a family. And so I got away from that and decided I really liked Lamont's vision and his dream. So I partnered with him in, sales.
Love it. Yeah. And I think you guys are a really good, I want to call it a mismatch for a reason. Because mismatches tend to make really good matches. It sounds weird, but because you bring that engineering mind or that systematic mind. Meanwhile, he's probably big thinker, and and between the two of you, we end up with a pretty good mix of vision and execution. Which once again, I think you and Amy have a lot of commonalities because I tend to focus on the big, I can get the big stuff done, but she's the one with straight to the point.
Yes, exactly. So give us a goal and then we execute.
Yeah. I like it. So I love that about you guys. So moving into this conversation here at the Mastermind, people that are watching this or listening to this, you guys may not know it. However, at the Mastermind, the very last session, everybody shares a specific skill or something that everyone has always said that they were good at, and they just thought it was an innate skill or just something that was kind of cool. So everybody in the group then voted on which one of those skills that somebody was going to speak on. So Erica, how about telling us what was your skill, and then we're going to jump into that.
Okay, great. So the skill that I presented on was active listening. And I honestly thought it was something I just had a natural, gifting in or skill set in. I didn't really think I worked on it or could teach it. And that's one of the things that I took back from the Qualified Mastermind was the Qualified Champion Mastermind was that any skill that you have, you can teach it. You can break it down and you can teach it to someone else so they can execute on it. And then, refine it and get the results that you want. And I never thought that. I thought, okay, well, I'm good at actively listening, but how do I get the next person to do that, to execute on it and get the results? that I'm getting.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize you could do that. You could break it down and teach it to someone.
Yeah. And the value of just being able to do that, because when you're looking to build a team, or you're looking to really just leverage so that you can actually have a life, be with family, go to Clemson when you want to, and know that your business is still running. There's some intangible pieces that a lot of business owners have a hard time letting go of because they think they're the only ones that can do it.
Yeah.
I love it. So when it comes to active listening, do you have just a couple of the points maybe that you shared that night that you would share with everyone else?
Well, there were a couple, you taught us a system of different categories to think about when we're evaluating anything. And the first thing that comes to mind is the belief. What you believe in your mind about a situation is going to affect how you approach it and the results and all those things. But when I talked about actively listening, the belief was that when I'm with a client, I believe they've come to me because I'm a professional and I can help them and they want my help. So when I go in with that mindset, I'm listening with the belief that they want my help and they're here to get my help. So I've got something they want. And then that affects how you listen, whether you're thinking, well, I want to check off a list, so I'm just listening for facts and figures, or you're listening to figure out how you can help that person because that's what you believe they want your help. So I talked about the belief part about that. I talked about when you're listening, the importance of your communication is the response you get from the person. So when you're listening, you're not only listening with your ears, but you're listening with all your senses. So you're looking at their breathing, you're listening, but you're also looking for the nonverbals. You're listening for how they respond to you. So we talked about that as well. And so it's about the communication, being flexible with, okay, well, I'll say it this way, and then maybe I need to change it up because the way my client responded isn't what I anticipated. I need to be flexible in my approach. And you're just taking all the feedback from them to figure out whether we really communicated well and whether I'm engaged, paraphrasing what they say, whether what's the energy? Do they look distracted? Are they confused? All those things you take into account. It's not just a checklist of things as an originator that you're just, okay, I'm listening for the data. You're not listening for the data. You're just taking it all in. And so we talked about the belief. We talked about accountability, owning the results, good or bad. We talked about, the importance of the communication and whether or not it was received, we got the results we wanted back. So those are just like three of the points in what I talked about with active listening. And again, I was amazed to find out that I could break it down based on what you taught us about the accountability and about, knowing the process and all those different parts that I could teach my teammate to get the results that I get. And I honestly thought, I just do it. But there are different parts of it.
There's so many pieces. We take intangible pieces and make them tangible.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And I got to share, Spencer, that for me as a mom, I'm not only in business, but I also want success in my personal life. So I went home and thought about, okay, if I want my kids to do X, Y, and Z, and I just do it because I've been trained this way, how do I break it down so they can replicate it? So that I don't have to do everything at home. So again, the business and the personal,
that's something that applies. That's good stuff. Yeah. So you taught everyone the belief. You talked about the flexibility in your approach. And that probably speaks to one of the sessions we actually went into. The quality of the communication is in the quality of the response. And
the response of the
Yep. And then you also shared about accountability. And you did get into some of the granular stuff, which we may not go in this video, but you actually got into the 5 senses and how to specifically listen and what to hear and listen for. And amazingly, you did it just like everyone else in less than 7 minutes. So
yes, we did. Honestly, I thought it would take just 3. I was like, I'm no expert on this, but because you've taught us how to break it down and you address each area, then you realize there's so much you can say, but then you can also condense it so that it's executable. It's not too much, but you can execute on it. So again, eye-opening.
I love it. Love it. And I'm sure and certain that others would use that to help them with their business. And like you said, relationships, even just in general conversations with just about anyone. So you also had discussed in the event, if you remember, you talked about listening for what people are not saying also.
Oh, yes. You got to listen for that, because sometimes people are fearful of letting you know what they don't know or what they're apprehensive about. And so just learning how to get that feedback. And sometimes you say it's a feeling, but it's really because we learned about that neuro-linguistic programming that you talked about. And that's a new word for me as well. Hope I said it correctly.
You
But
did.
just taking all that feedback in and then saying, I need to open a door for this I don't know, maybe this topic with a client, whether it's talking about their funds or about the process itself. And so just opening it up and not saying, are you having a problem with this? But opening up so they feel like they can share.
Yeah.
Because once you shed light on those things, it just makes people less stressed and more confident, trust. All that stuff starts to build.
Well, and I think that's what you just hit on it. I think it's about trust, because when you actively listen well, people feel like they're being heard.
Yes.
And when you give them the feedback that doesn't necessarily feel like they're being judged, they then feel like they can trust you. And you guys are dealing with very sensitive information. I've worked with loan officers for years, and some of the stuff you guys know, just like real estate agents, honestly, but some of the things you guys know, if you want to know about what people value, pay attention to their bank statements.
Oh, and we do. Yes.
Yeah, that's what. So if you want to know what somebody really enjoys or doesn't enjoy, or what they're into, or what their values are, just open up your checkbook and take a look at somebody's register, and you can find out real fast what they're into. So sharing that kind of information with you, who could be a complete total stranger, you would have to get really, really good at listening and actively, so that they feel a sense of trust.
Trust and not judgment. Exactly.
Without judgment. That's right. Awesome. So, and I'm extremely grateful that you came and shared all of that information with us. So let me ask you this. What drew you to the mastermind? Like, how'd you end up there?
Oh, great question. So Lamont told me, he said, well, Spencer's putting together this qualified champion mastermind. And I was like, okay, great. And he said, so I'm going to participate. Okay, great. You want to participate? I don't know. Let me see what it's about. And so I remember giving you a call, Spencer, and saying, hey, Spencer, Lamont told me about this. He's all excited, but what's this all about? And what really drew me, Spencer, was your vision and what you wanted to accomplish with the mastermind. You shared a little bit about your passion. And I've got to tell you, the energy you had about the passion behind the qualified champion as the business aspect, and then you started sharing a little bit more about how it could get involved in other areas of our lives. And I thought, whoa, this is something big, and this is the ground, this is ground floor. And then you threw a carrot in there. And I learned about that as well during our qualified champion. Like, another participant shared about the carrot. And you said, do you know what congruent is? And I was like, well, I know what it means in math, but you said congruency. And I was like, what's that? So you shared a little bit about that, about aligning. And I thought, oh, I don't know this. This can help me. And you just shared that. You shared with me that there was something I didn't know that could help me be better. Yeah. And just that one term, in conjunction with your passion and the vision and the fact that you're such a respected coach in our area. I mean, everyone knows about your coaching and how you've been, helping agents be successful in their business. So you take your reputation, your passion, your energy, the vision, the long-term part. I could get in on the ground floor. And then you said congruency. And I was like, okay, I gotta be there.
Well, I'm going to take it as a high honor, specifically because the term congruent and congruency actually is a mathematical term.
Yes, it is.
Coming from somebody that now I know graduated with an engineering background, I'm going to take that with huge honor. So Lamont, who is your husband, said, hey, I'm going to go do this. And he invited you to come. Yeah. And I actually had suggested, I said, it's good if your spouse comes with you.
Yes.
Simply because I have seen way too many times where one spouse grows and the other one doesn't, or they're not familiar. And so it's like a language barrier for a while there. And it can hinder one of them from moving forward. So amazingly, when you get two of you, like the two of you did,
right,
you're talking the same language, you're catching and pitching, and suddenly we can get a tremendous amount of momentum.
Oh, yes.
Just from that. So you were brought into it because you were referred, and I appreciate the fact that you actually had the guts to pick up the phone and call me and just say, tell me what this is about.
Exactly. Because it's a commitment of time, time, you have to invest your time. And so I wanted to know, if I'm going to be spending Monday nights away from my family, is this a wise investment of my time?
Perfect.
And again, what you shared was like, ooh, this is going to work. There's something there for me. I don't know what it is, but there's something. There's congruency. So
I love it. And we did cover congruency the
sure
specific
did.
night we talked about beliefs and so on. So we discussed how to the logical levels of thinking. So what did you wish that you would have known maybe before going into it? Like, how could you feel like you might have been better prepared before you went?
How could I have been better prepared? It's really hard to say. The best way to prepare, and I figured you did this for me, was that you told me to think about my goals, think about where I was and where I wanted to be. And so I just focused on that. And I remember before we got there, I thought, okay, what did he ask me? I've got to prepare. And I looked at the question and I was like, okay, what are my goals? And that was one of the first things you said. So in at least coming in, knowing you have a goal to improve, to get from here to wherever there is, helps you to know helps you to absorb all the value that's being thrown at you, because you had a lot. I mean, my mind was blown about the whole mindset part. Just that part alone was enough, I thought. But then you took the mindset and then you gave us the tactics, the mechanics. And then you said, okay, well, that's not enough. And I think about it all the time. Knowledge is knowledge, but then when you apply it, it's wisdom. And so here's the mindset, here's the mechanics, and then the momentum, applying it or whatever. And so I feel like the best way to prepare is just at least have a mindset of, okay, there's something I want, there's a place I want to get to, and I'm going to figure out how to get there by going to the mastermind.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, because it's too much to try to quantify before going.
Right. So what you're referring to is actually a process that and you guys we didn't go over this that night, but I call it pre-queuing your mind. So if you think about this, I know you've been to conferences. You're a guild. I bet you guys have like conferences a couple times a year. Mm-hmm. And all these LOs and people that are in the industry come together, and you guys share great ideas, and you walk away with 1,000 ideas and really good stuff. Mm-hmm. I have, for years, I'd see people go to these things and never implement anything. Mm. So, and they would go with a haphazard idea of how to do it. So what I always recommended all of my clients, my coaching clients, is before you go, identify a small list of things that you want to get answers to, or I know exactly where I want to go with this. So what you're saying, before you go to the Qualified Champions Mastermind or this program that we have, get a good sense for where you really want to be.
Exactly. If you just know that I'm here and I've got success, because that's where we came from. Lamont and I have a level of success. We've experienced it. We know the diligence, the discipline, commitment it takes to have success. But success keeps moving. It's never the same parameters. Yeah. And so with that, there was like, okay, well, I know I want to get to there. How do I do that? I know how to do what I've been doing, but that's not going to get me to where I want to go. The parameters have changed. So I'm going to go to this, and I don't know, Spencer's helped other people. He's got something I don't know, possibly. And you had that and then some.
Well, and the fun part is with you two, you guys actually implemented, and we'll come around to that. But let me ask you one more thing for the people that are thinking about going. What kind of people or type of people would you consider a good fit for going to the Qualified Champions Mastermind?
Well, definitely, I felt like the group of people we had already had a level of success. So it wasn't like we were trying to bring others up and realize there's some level of commitment to having success, that you need some systems or whatever. So we were all basically coming from the same experience level. So you'll definitely want that in order to have that synergy that we had. But also you want someone who's curious. That's where I come from. I have curiosity. And then I just wanted I knew that there was an opportunity for more. I have an abundance mindset. So there's more out there, and we can tap into it. It's not fixed. It's not based on the market. It's not based on, what sellers and buyers are out there. It's not that. It's already out there. We just have to go figure out how to get it, or, get in connection with it. So it's someone who's curious, someone who knows it's there to be taken, to be had, to be experienced. But you need instructions on how to get there. What's the map? What's the road? How do you get there?
Yeah. And that's really, honestly, from genuinely, I believe that that's what the material actually has turned out to become, is more of a map.
Yeah.
I'm recently started calling it a blueprint or a playbook, because it really is. I can take just about any industry and go through the process, and they can exponentially grow whatever they've got going on and impact their personal life too. So
well, that's true. It's true, because each participant had their own set of goals. It was varied. You weren't just saying, well, if you want to increase leads, we're going to do this, this, and this. You didn't say it that way. It's like, okay, bring your goal, bring your concept, and I'm going to show you how to create the map, how to develop the map, and the path to getting to where you want to go. And it varied. So, but we all walked away knowing, oh, wow, I know how to get there now.
Yeah, and you had actionable steps. So I guess that's a really good segue into kind of what was your experience through the class. And I know you missed one, but you still got to watch it on video.
Yeah, the recap.
Yep. So what was give us a quick flyover of your experience and what were some of the, I guess at the end of the day, what I'm really looking for is what are the couple takeaways you got in the experience?
Okay, so what I really could appreciate about the experience was with each session, you kind of give a generalization of what we were going to cover over the course of 6 weeks. And then there were always the mindset and mechanics. So we always knew there was going to be something about our thinking, our mindset. We understood, now I can't remember what the chart was called, but I do remember about being victims and being champions. I do remember being, qualified for results and non-qualified. And what did you call that grid?
So that's actually the entire. It's actually right here all behind me.
Yes.
That's the qualified champion. Those are the patterns.
So you talked about the pattern in general, but each segment that you went over, each week we were able to go back to work, to our business, to our team, to our environment, and figure out, okay, ooh, that one really, tantalized me. I'm going to apply that. I see where I could use that. And we literally would go back into our morning meetings and either challenge our generalization, if it was something like, oh, they always do this, or this always happens, or we can always, if it was something like that. Or another time we were thinking about the accountability. So am I owning the positive and the negative results? And then, and what to do with that, and you talked about, so each time we would take something from the experience, go back and just go ahead and implement it. And I think that's where you start to get the momentum, because you see it changing. And once that, it's a ripple effect. So then it started thinking, okay, well, each meeting allowed us to learn something new. And there's so much, but you can always take one thing and then just apply it immediately. Then you gave us the freedom to share. And so we started coming back to me and saying, well, what did you do? Well, what did you do? We talked about that. So each meeting.
That's the coach in me. I'm sorry.
but it's great, because even though some of us may not have felt the need or that others would want to know, because you asked the question, we'd share. And then we'd realize, oh, okay, that's working for you. Oh, I want that. We even had other participants say, hey, I want to come to your office. I want to see this. And vice versa. That's the synergy that was created. So with the program, the process, however you're describing this opportunity, you get practical, applicable actions that you can apply with each week. And you can't apply them all, but you can see the ripple effect as they build and build and build. And I did write down a couple of things that I took away that I really just immediately used. Everything I do well, I can break down and teach to someone else. And we talked about that. Honestly, I'm using that in the business. I'm using it personally. So to me, that was eye-opening.
Have you taught your girls anything specific that you're willing to share?
Well,
or you plan to?
I'm sharing with my middle schooler, I can say this about her. This concept of time is something for her. And so we talked about the actions we do are giving us, like, we're getting like I can't remember how you worded it, but we're liking the results, or we're doing it because of the results that we're getting. And I started asking her, I was like, so procrastinating is serving you well some kind of way. You're liking this somehow. You say you don't, but you're doing it for a reason. So we thought about that versus what she said she wanted. And then, okay, well, what do you really want? Well, let's break that down and let's start to implement those things, because you say, well, as if we have no control. You know, it just happens. Procrastination is serving you somehow, and that's why you're doing it. So that's one of the things that we talked about. And then having her, it's a crazy thing, set her alarm on her phone, just so that she's starting to take action to get the desired result, as opposed to like, well, I just overcommitted. Well, you don't just overcommit.
So, and you actually you got that specifically from when we talked about beliefs. We talked about beliefs of excellence, and part of that had to do with every behavior has a positive intent. So I don't know if you remember
positive intent. That's what you said.
That's where that comes from.
Exactly. And so it's like, well, so you're doing it, and you know you're getting something from it, and it's contradictory for what you say you want, the results that you say you want. So that was one of them. And then you also said that habits are to our personal life like systems are to our business. So, you know, you do these self-help books and you figure, okay, I need to work on my habits personally, but your habits in business are your systems, and it's a cycle. You don't just go from here to there. It's a cycle, and you start over again, and you start over again, and you go over again. And so just thinking about it that way as systems in your business, you just, again, go back over it and go back over it. So that was, as opposed to like, oh, this is our goal, we're going to do it, and then recreate the wheel. No. System. And so we have that continuity in our personal lives. Lamont and I both, we have habits that morning rituals like exercising, meditation, reading, praying, that kind of thing.
Right.
And we do it all the time. But then at work, there were some systems and some broken systems because we weren't doing it consistently over and over again. So that was number 2. And then the third thing, and I talked about this maybe a little bit earlier about the generalizations and just challenging. We wouldn't believe how many generalizations that we have based on our past experience. And so we just kind of like, we don't even challenge them. And you talked about that. You really broke it down. I think there might've been 8 or 7 parts to that. But just being conscious of, aware that we need to challenge, you know, what we're generalizing.
So, you know, what most people don't realize is our brains are wired for finding the shortcuts, finding the most efficient ways to process information. And when you deal with an experience over and over, your mind has a habit of automatically just go ahead and shorten the process. And I use the analogy, probably, I'm guessing at the event, I said, in the real estate industry, it's very common for real estate agents to say buyers are liars, right? You got a list to last. So these are phrases that now have basically shortcuts. They're generalizations. So we just automatically assume, or we label people, and then we treat them that way without actually ever challenging it in the whole time. So, which, you know, if you go back to the earlier part of this conversation, you have such a heart for serving, and you believe that you're there to help. Your active listening skills applied to the understanding that generalization can happen immediately helps you become way more effective with every conversation you're having.
Yeah.
Which is deep. That's deep. That's awesome. Were there any specific systems or small things you did in the business that you actually applied, you want to share or willing to share?
Small things. Oh,
in terms of systems, because you mentioned system.
Well, it's a really small thing. And it's our morning huddle. Just consistently having a morning huddle where we talked about what were your successes? Hey, what were your wins from yesterday? And in focusing on the wins, you know, we would also think about, well, I really wanted to get this, but I didn't. And then, okay, well, what was the challenge in that? But just having a morning huddle, talking about the wins and talking about what's the priority. I know we began our conversation before recording talking about how my day was going, and time management is like, for us, but priorities, knowing what the top priorities are, what are the things that are going to move us forward. We talk about that. So then you know what your wins are for the day. You can leave the day with maybe some things not done, but feeling accomplished.
Yeah.
And just giving everyone on the team a sense of having ability to have ownership, and then knowing, did I do what I needed to do today? Because we had a morning huddle, and that's become a system that we have. It's just
perfect. So
every day.
Is your morning huddle like 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Or
yeah,
15?
No, not even 30, 15 minutes.
Okay. So I'm asking the question because there's so many business owners that they just don't see like that's any value. But what I know, what I know is that it closes the communication gap that happens within a team whenever they consistently communicate. I've seen some teams that actually create little closed Facebook groups just so that they can communicate inside of there. But there's got to be ways for people to be able to work with each other and communicate. And the cool thing is as the leadership group, you have the capacity now to take the feedback, adjust, and build a system when we start seeing a pattern of consistency in something that's consistently going wrong, or things are going really well. How do we automate that kind of thing?
Yes. But just that simple thing that you would think, oh, well, we could just do an email or we could just do whatever. We've found, and again, and now I'm thinking about it, the active listening. When you're in the meeting, you can actively listen and observe and take in everything about your teammates to figure out maybe they might be a little overwhelmed. They didn't say it, but maybe there's some things I need to take off their plate because I want everyone to win.
It's hard to convey. It's hard to convey tone over an email or a text.
Exactly.
Right?
So 15 minutes, it's short and sweet, but it's to the point, and we all are focused on the priorities.
Awesome. Okay, so I got one more question, and just kind of wrap this up. I'm gonna ask you, what would be your advice to anyone looking to consider in making the investment? Because this is, it's not going to be a cheap thing for most people, and for some, it may not be that expensive. But again, like you said, it was a time commitment. What is the what's the advice that comes to your mind when someone's considering this?
Well, for me, it was a no-risk investment. It doesn't really matter what value of monetarily that you would charge for the experience and the opportunity. It's no risk because I'm going from where I am to where I want to be, and it's not stagnant. It keeps rippling. It's exponential for me. And then the other thing is, we don't just get we get all the participants. So you've got other professionals with their experience, their specific skill sets, and they're all open and willing to share to help you be better. And then we've made connections outside of the group because, for instance, Peggy, she was like, okay, you got to come to my office. We're moving. Come to my office. And I was like, it's okay. She's like, yeah, come. Okay, great. So I know I'm going to continue to draw from the well of her experience and her knowledge. And Jeremy, I mean, everyone. And so you really can't put a price on the connections that you make and their life experience that they're willing to share with you, as well as what you learn and grow and get feedback from participants. It just ripples. It ripples professionally and personally for me. Just thinking about it. It's kind of like, how big a bucket can you get to mine the gold? That's what you take away. So if you come with a big bucket wanting tons, you can get tons. It's all about what you're willing to take in and implement. So it really depends on the participant. I got tons. So I got tons.
I appreciate you spending the time because I know you have a lot going on, and it is toward the end of the month. For most loan officers, that tends to be kind of a lot of activity going on. So I appreciate you taking the time. So I'm going to go ahead and wind this up. I want to thank everybody that's been watching and listening to Erica and myself here for the last few minutes. It's been a pleasure to serve. And I'm very grateful for you, Erica. So if there's anything we could ever do for you in the future, let us know.
I will.
To everyone else, keep well and keep moving forward.